safari tour manager as well as one of our general zookeepers. If you've seen our fish aquarium talk, he was the guy who takes care of that. So there's multiple hats here, and he's going to help assist us today with our safari talk. And the main one we're going to talk about is the most iconic animal here in North America, and it's going to be our American bison here. Now, the American bison, the male's going to be almost 2,000 pounds, which is almost a ton. The female's a little less, about 1,000 to 1,500 pounds, but they can easily stand 6 feet tall, almost at the shoulder. Now, being such large animals, they can actually move pretty quick. They can move at almost 30 miles per hour. They do live in really big groups and herds. Now, at one point, the American bison was actually 10 million strong. Unfortunately, though, during the early 1800s, they were hunted to near extinction. They were hunted for sport. They were hunted just for game, and people didn't realize that an animal had such big numbers could be put to only a few thousand. In the like I said, early 1800s, 1820 or so, there was only about 1,000 to 1,200 bison left in North America, which is astronomical from 10 million. A very important person, Teddy Roosevelt, who was a hunter himself, really took charge and lead in not only general conservation of animals, he started national parks, but really took a big step to help these bison. He took a few handfuls to certain zoos to actually start a breeding program. And actually the Bronx Zoo, so pretty close here to Pennsylvania, the Bronx Zoo was one of the major contributors to actually help these bison grow. Those national parks really help protect the land from these guys, as well as Native Americans. The Native American, Ryan will get into in a little bit though, also really helped these American bison. Now, with those few dozen that started a breeding program, by the late 1800s, about 1890 or so, they were up to almost 12 to 15,000. And then by the early 2000s, these numbers, with the great help of Game Commission, the state, the government level, they made over a 500,000 number comeback. So they are doing very, very well right now. And they're actually doing so well, they're causing some issues, unfortunately, out west. There's so many big bison herds that they're actually starting to travel into farmers' land and eat a lot of their crops and things like that. So it's actually a good issue to have now, but they're doing very well, which is really important for these guys. Now, they also play another big role in our environment and ecosystem. They're a grazer, so they eat grass, because grass is one of the main things that grow pretty easily. But they do something called wallowing, and wallowing is when they roll around in the kind of dirt. So if Austin pans to the left here, this is a great example of wallowing. So they'll roll around in the dirt, and it looks eventually at one point just like a big empty spot, like dust and dirt, but it allows for new growth. It allows for succession. So any grasses or hard weeds that are there will then officially then grow in new spots. So new flowers, new plants will actually be able to grow, which is really important for the ecosystem. So I'm going to flip it over to Ryan right now, and he's going to talk a little bit more about bisons and kind of the information on them.
Alright guys, so just a little more of a background out here in the safari field. We have about 150 acres for the animals to roam out here, and there's a few hundred, probably 300 to 400 individual animals, with about a dozen species, including North American bison. Right now we have about a dozen North American bison in the safari field. We're expecting at least a half a dozen calves to be born in the next few weeks here in the spring. And we do have a couple of white bison here at the park as well, which are very rare in the animal world. At the park we have a couple different species with white individuals. In the wild, the white bison is considered to be a sacred animal by the Native Americans, But over the next couple months, they will be shedding the hair off. Peter mentioned the wallows. They'll use those wallows to help get rid of that extra coat, as well as the trees and fence posts out here. They'll rub along those and assist that coat in falling out. Now, some of them will shed that coat off over the next few weeks. Some of them will take all summer. Depends how vigorously they actually rub the wool off. Out here in the field, we let that wool go. Some places will utilize that wool in making other kinds of garments, and the Native Americans use the wool for making their own clothing as well. The bison here are known for growing horns. Like most cattle species, the bison males and females grow the horns. So just because you see horns on them, that does not mean that they are males. So the males and females grow horns in most cattle species, with a few exceptions. And likewise, animals in the deer family, like some of the deer we have here at the park, whitetail, European fallow deer, and North American elk, they typically will just display antlers in the males. However, there are exceptions to that rule as well, like the caribou, where males and females both grow antlers. A couple of differences between antlers and horns. The horns you see on the bison here are essentially permanent. So they'll have those horns, the start of those horns when they are born, they'll have little nubs. They'll continue to grow with the animal throughout its life. And most of the growing is done within the first 10 years when they're really developing their size. But as long as the animal is alive and well, those horns will continue to grow a little bit each year. Now, it is a keratin sheath, It is a keratin sheath that coats a bony structure which attaches to the skull for the horns that you see on the bison. That is different than the antlers you see on the deer. I do have one here. This antler is off of a European fallow deer, and this is temporary. So these antlers fall off and regrow on a yearly basis. So they expend a lot of energy each year growing these new antlers, and they use them to battle each other in the rut during the fall. And after that, they will fall off in late winter, and they start growing a new set all over again in the spring. Now, this is a little different than what you would see on a white-tailed deer, which we're used to seeing here in Pennsylvania. It's actually our state mammal. This is a palmated antler, so it looks kind of like the palm of your hand. This one is quite a good sized antler. It's probably maybe 7 inches or wider across. About 9 inches or wider is considered to be a trophy-sized deer for a palmated European fallow deer antler. And if you can see close enough, well enough on here, you might see the lines on the antler. These are where the blood vessels ran throughout the spring and summer while the antler is growing. And these do have a pretty impressive growth rate. All this growth is done within a couple of months. But while they are growing, the antlers are covered in a velvety sheath, and that protects the blood vessels, and the blood allows the nutrients for these antlers to grow. And like I said, we also have North American elk out here in the field, and you can come check these animals out in a couple weeks here once we are open for the drive-through. But the North American elk actually have the fastest growing antlers in the deer family, with a growth rate of 1 inch per day, which is awesome, very impressive.
All right. I know that, Ryan, you said there's a whole bunch of different species out here. We do have an animal right here, Ryan, though, that looks like a bison, but I know where you hear it's not a complete bison. So what is this one right here that's going to eat this piece of corn?
So right here next to us is Cheyenne. Cheyenne is a beefalo. She's one of a kind here at the park. She's been here for years, and she is part bison, part common beef cow. She is a cross between the two, and we have her here at the park because she's pretty to look at, but some farms do crossbreed some of these animals for a difference in meat quality and texture. Bison meat is known for being higher in protein and also lower in cholesterol. However, it can be a little bit of a drier meat than your typical beef, so they just get a little blend of the two. But like I said, Cheyenne is just here at the park because we think she's pretty and fun to have around.
Ryan, sorry about guys. I know the wind has been picking up, so we're going to try our best to talk directly into the mic here. But Ryan, you're the tour guide manager. So as that, what are kind of some of your roles and duties throughout the day and at that position?
Well, overall, I am in charge of hiring and training the tour guides here at the park, which in the past have been a great asset and attraction for the guests. They give a lot of knowledge about the animals that we have here on display. Obviously, things being different this year, we are adapting and going to attempt to open up a drive-through. Okay. So I won't be doing as much training this year, but on a regular basis, I'm in charge of taking care of the bus maintenance as far as keeping them up and running. We also make our own safari tour buses here at the park, so that's a neat experience each year. We get a school bus or two and literally chop the top off of them and then paint them a cool safari themed style color. Also making sure that all the animals are in good shape out here in the safari field each day. That's part of the tour guide's job, and making sure that they're all healthy, and we usually don't have any trouble making sure they're all well fed. But here at the park we do feed the animals with food provided from the farmland around the park. I mentioned we have 150 acres here in the safari field surrounding the park itself. We have about another 400 acres that the Tobias family owns, and most of that is used to provide food for the animals through farmland. We grow our own corn and other grains like oats, which these animals get typically every other day. They get large quantities of grains, and then we'll mix in alfalfa hay as well. So throughout the spring and summer months, they do a lot of grazing, as you might be able to hear some of the cattle doing now, and they keep the grass down. We don't have to mow out here, but we do supplement that throughout the winter months with up to a pickup truckload of hay each day.
Alright guys, so we will open up to your questions about our bison, or if there's any questions on the kind of safari end. So Ryan and I will do our best to answer them. So I know Jana might be one or two already, so if you guys want to put your questions in, we will answer them.
Todd would like to know, what is the difference between an American buffalo and a bison?
You want to show me too?
American buffalo.
I'm sorry, American bison or a buffalo?
Oh, okay. Well, the American bison is what we have in North America, and that was kind of a misconception when they were first seen by the European settlers. So in other parts of the world they have true buffalo, Asian water buffalo, which
African Cape buffalo.
Yeah, and they were kind of thought to be. Now they are sort of cousins, if you will, so they are related, but at a distance.
These guys are bison. That's their kind of scientific name. And like what Ryan said, this is the closest animal that they saw here that resembled what they've known either in Europe or Africa. So they just kind of called it that because they thought it was the same. But a close relative is what they are. And one of the big kind of almost differences is their horns are kind of almost the same, you know, shape around. They don't really have too much of a back to it. It kind of goes up. Other horns like the Cape buffalo as well as water buffalo, they kind of have almost a spiral that goes kind of backwards to them.
Okay, what is the lifespan of a bison?
That's a good question. The bison here at the park, well, at least out in the safari field, have one of the longest lifespans. They can live up to around 40 years old, which is quite a few years older than your average species of cattle.
Noah is 8 years old. He wants to know, where do we get them? Where do we get our bison from?
We get our animals out here in the field from typically other private parks and zoos, primarily up and down the East Coast, and that's just connections that have been made over the years and the decades that the Tobias family has been in business, in the animal keeping business.
And you said, though, Ryan, that we are expecting, right, some? And how does that happen? Is that natural, right? Do we try anything out here?
Right. We've done more selling of the bison lately. We haven't brought any in for a while, but we do bring in new individuals to change the bloodlines, and that helps keep a healthy herd here at the park. But yeah, it is all natural. We try to keep one healthy, mature breeding age bull of each of the large species, and that'll do the job of ensuring offspring for the next season.
Jennifer wants to know how many we have.
Right now we have about a dozen bison, and like I said, in a couple weeks here we are expecting to have hopefully at least 6, maybe up to 8, I believe, bison calves born.
Caitlin's asking how much is the average weight of a bison?
The average weight, I would say, is maybe about 1,000, 1,200 pounds, maybe a little more. But your larger bulls, like Peter mentioned, you're looking more towards 2,000 pounds roughly.
And one more, Savannah would like to know how large the horns get.
The bison horns, not incredibly large. What you're looking at here is a full-sized female, and yeah, maybe 12, 15 inches in length, and maybe about 3 inches wide at the base. We do have some larger horned species of cattle here in the field, so be sure to check them out next time you're here to visit.
And Ryan, in case if I know you went over horns and antlers, they're not supposed to fall off. If they do, can you let them know kind of what happens then if a horn does fall off into battle? If they go against another male, or any other animal that has a horn, what would happen?
Typically, what I've seen, if the majority of the horn is broken off, it's usually the sheath, that outer layer, and you'll kind of see a stubby, bony nub. That's what actually is attached to the skull. It'll just be a small portion of the size of the horn. But oftentimes, if you see pieces broken off of the horn, maybe the tip, the last just a couple inches, that'll continue to grow, but you'll always be able to see where the damage was taken. But like I said earlier, they'll continue to grow throughout their life, so they'll continue to heal.
All right, guys, we are getting done with some more time here. So thank you guys for coming out. Sorry about the wind. As always, connect, protect, and change. This animal was right here in North America, right down across on the west side, and they were put near extinction by us. And we have a big role in their lives because they're right here in our home country. So do your best to protect our world, save our environment, because without certain national parks as well as help, these guys would have been put to extinction and we would not have any left. So thank you guys for coming out. If you guys have any other questions, we'll do our best to answer them in the chats. And we are closed, unfortunately. We are looking to have something open soon, so continue to just look back, and we will have another ZooView for you guys on Friday, all right? So thank you guys for coming out, and enjoy the rest of your week.